Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together all the things that I purchased over the past week. You may have seen me go to record stores. I also get stuff from eBay and online places like Amazon. So gather it all up here, go through it with you guys, maybe turn you on to something new, maybe just remind you of some great bands that you got in your collection and want to pull out. So I've got 15 things here to run through with you and we'll get into that in just a minute. But before we do, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, you're going to stay up to date. You're going to find out about cool videos like this one and all kinds of other stuff, upcoming videos. And I try to really mix it up. I've got a few of these that are series ones that happen every week. This is every Wednesday. I've got music news roundup that is every Friday. What just dropped, talking about new releases, that's every Saturday. But in between there, I got other things, top 10s and best ofs and favorite videos and desert island things and just all kinds of different topics and stuff like that to go through. So definitely turn on your notifications for it. Anyway, back to new stuff that I picked up, my new music finds. I like to start with new releases. One that I know that was pretty big and popular on most people's lists. I didn't actually buy it on release day. It kind of grew on me and I picked it up a day later on Saturday, and it really all came out of my What Just Dropped video because of the comments that everybody kept bringing up. Brand new Dirty Honey, Can't Find the Breaks, second studio album. Somebody commented to me and told me this was their third. It is their third release, but it is their second full-length studio album. They had an EP and then the last one and now this here. So crazy thing was, I was in a record store, Sound Exchange, that I like to go to. I had already checked this out and it was good, but it just didn't necessarily connect with me. And then on came the song, the second track that's on here, Won't Take Me Alive. And I thought, who is this? This is really good. So I Shazammed it. Turned out it was this band and I realized I better just pick it up. So I've actually really been enjoying it. I'm glad that I got it. I may go back and buy the first album. But I really need to let it sit in. You know, it's one of those things that they sound fantastic and they definitely sound like a classic band. But a lot of times it makes me think of other artists and I don't want to go pull that out. But I want this one to set in. I want them to become, stand out, be unique in my mind. So I'm definitely working on that. I am enjoying it. And then I'll probably pick up some more. I'll probably just one day it'll click. And then all of a sudden I'll be this huge Dirty Honey fan. New band for me, stoner rock, but they're a bit more than that. The lead guitar work on here is amazing. Green Lung and their brand new album, This Heathen Land. A little different than their last one. Their second album, which I have, is fantastic. This one here hasn't yet hit me. It's got these quiet, sort of acoustic parts at the beginning and ends of each track, and there is some good rocking in the middle of it, but it keeps kind of going from being slow to heavy to slow to heavy, and so it kind of has thrown me off on the first few listens. I'm going to really have to sit down and dive into it. But I've heard from other people that are really digging this. I'm sure in due time this will with me as well. But I definitely love the last album, so this one here I've got to give a little bit of time to grow on me. This is a band that I only found just recently. I think they've been around for a little while. A group called Dr. Living Dead. They're a thrash band and they are sort of a crossover. They've got a bit of the hardcore mixed in with them, the metal and the thrash. So it's sort of like Suicidal Tendencies and bands along that style and genre that mix it up. There's the guys on the back side. This is called Demos After Death, and it actually collects together Thrash After Death first EP and Thrashing the Laws second EP, adds in some bonus tracks, and so those go back to like 2017, 18, somewhere in that time frame. But I think this is only their second full length that's out. I could be wrong, but I have one of their albums, and this I just saw getting released a week ago. Again, another What's Just Dropped find for me, because as I was putting it together, I found this and immediately ordered it, but didn't even know it was coming out. So that just took a little bit to get to me. It didn't get in last week's new music finds, so I'm showing you this week. All right, this next one here set off a whole different listening experience for me from everything. I found this because a lot of these albums that are sort of running under the radar, but I am finding as I'm digging for them each week as I put together the What Just Drops, is a lot of stuff from the Cleopatra Records label. And I'm going to get into some more of that in a minute with what I'm talking about here, but I'll start with this. This came out in 2022, and it's called Synthesizer Classics. And I think initially when I saw this, I just passed it over because I do remember seeing this. But then when I found out that it was re-recordings by artists like Derek Sherinian, Rick Wakeman is on here, Jeff Downes, Jordan Rudess. I'm not sure what it is, but I did pass it over. Then my mindset changed a bit recently with some tribute albums and things of that nature that Cleopatra Records does. They're known for putting out cover albums and things like that, tribute albums and stuff. Sometimes it's for me, sometimes it's not for me. But either way, I gave it a little bit of a listen and I fell in love with it. And all the tracks except one on here I didn't know. So Derek Sherinian doing Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, just an artist I had never gotten into. Rick Wakeman doing Magic Fly from a band called Space. Jeff Downes doing Pulsar from Vangelis. And it just kicked off and I loved all of these. So these actual new interpretations turned out to be right up my alley because they also all sound modern and done today. So this collection was perfection for me. I've been loving this. If you want some instrumental synth music, man, this is good, even though it's not by the original artist. Now, of course, I jumped back and I said, well, I like that stuff so much, better be time to get me some Mike Oldfield and Tubular Bells, the original album. There's all different versions of this. I opted to get just a reissue of it that's got the 2 original tracks plus a couple single editions tacked on, but nothing extra, none of the 2-disc, 3-disc set editions. I just wanted a nice one in a jewel case. So I got that. And I will say, of the 2 parts, I really like the first one, but the second part, not so much. So the first 25 minutes of it, I'm totally digging. The second 23, not so much. But then again, it's just, that's the whole album, 50 minutes worth in 2 tracks. But now, the second track on this synth collection that was done by Rick Wakeman called Magic Fly was originally done by a band called Space. And I fell in love with that track. And when I found this album, this is out by Repertoire, out of print, and I managed to get a hold of a copy of this. So very cool. I think it's a French synth wave. And 1977 is the year of this, and I guess this became a big disco hit. All these songs apparently are pretty well known or well known at one time or another, being hits for these bands for one reason or another, but never heard of these bands, but I'm absolutely loving this stuff. I've been a big fan of the synth music since really getting into Rick Wakeman and just wanting more like that, and initially finding it very hard to track that sort of stuff down. And I'm slowly finding it from one artist to the next, but it's really hard actually. There just isn't a market out there that sells that or that promotes that or anything along those lines. So I'm slowly digging in and finding some really great artists. Now, I mentioned the whole Cleopatra thing and doing tribute albums and stuff like that. So this one is from 2 years ago in 2021. They did a reimagining of Animals. And I picked this up because of the artist. You always get people like James LaBrie from Dream Theater, Martin Barr from Jethro Tull. These seem to be on a lot of these. And you get other people, John Davison or Rick Wakeman or people from Yes in here. And so I had that one. And then a couple weeks back, they did Metal Reimagined. And this one was wildly different. This was great. This one here actually was worth picking up because it really is reimagined. This one here, not so much, pretty straight ahead actually. This one, very cool. So I started digging in because I know they've done a lot of these, and I found they had done one called Still Wish You Were Here for the Wish You Were Here album. And again, wildly not different, but cool nonetheless that we have Jeff Tate on it doing Shine On You Crazy Diamond parts 1 through 5, Welcome to the Machine featuring Todd Rundgren and Rick Wakeman, Have a Cigar with James LaBrie from Dream Theater, Wish You Were Here has Rick Emmett from Triumph singing on it, Joe Satriani doing the guitar. It was just cool to get in here. I like hearing different versions. So for me, Nothing is ever going to top the Pink Floyd stuff. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, but Pink Floyd's not dropping new material. So sometimes I want to hear it, but I want to hear it a little differently, and these tribute albums do that for me. And it's just something fun to explore. I don't go back to them all that often, but when I get in the mood for the tribute album, I actually have a whole little collection of just the tribute albums that I will sometimes pull out. Sometimes I've got a Kiss one, I've got a Beatles one, I've got an Iron Maiden one, Styx, that are good on their own, meaning sometimes I just want to pull those out and hear them because every version is so spectacular that it's worth hearing. Sometimes you hear a tribute album, you just want to go pull out the original stuff, but in this case, sometimes they're great. Okay, an eBay find for me, a Meatloaf collection called Back from Hell. Nice cross section. A lot of his albums, like Hits from Hell, at least the original one, only covered the first 3 albums. Then it got expanded and it added on stuff from Bat Out of Hell and Welcome to the Neighborhood, but not really a full collection. There is the 2 CD edition, but I like the single disc ones. This one here is a German collection from 1993. Actually does not have anything on it from the 1993 album Bat Out of Hell 2. There is a second Back from Hell where stuff appears on it, but I think this was meant to, catch people up. So 15 tracks on here. What's very cool is it's got stuff from all of the albums up until Bat Out of Hell 2. Then we also have the Ted Nugent song, I Love You So I Told a Lie, that Meatloaf sings on from, I think, 75, give or take. And then there's Hot Patootie Bless My Soul, which is from the Rocky Horror Picture Show that Meatloaf sings. So a really nice cross section. It's got cool album art. It's done very well. This is official by Columbia Records. And again, just another way to hear stuff from him. I own all the albums. I own multiple hits collections. But when there's no more to get, and unfortunately Meatloaf has passed away, Jim Steinman's passed away, sometimes it's just great to pull out a collection and hear the songs in a different running order than you're used to. And it sort of spruces things up and you're sort of like, oh yeah, I missed that song. And that's why I'll pick these up and add them to my collection. Right. And then if you saw the record store scores that I made recently going to Sound Exchange, I got some very cool things and I'll do a quick run through on them because you've already seen them in that video. But Best of Vangelis turned out to be fantastic. As I showed you guys in that video, it was all spurred along because of this, but there's the official showing of that now. And then here, which has Pulsar, and the rest of the tracks on here turned out to be fantastic. Probably my favorite thing that I picked up was this. This one turned out to be very cool. Jimmy Page and Roy Harper, Jimmy Page really, because it's a Roy Harper album. And I had no idea that Jimmy Page had done this. And when I went to his Wikipedia page, it was right there, 1985, a collaborative album. He plays on every track, it turns out. I thought he only played on a few. He does play on every track. This is 45 minutes long, featuring Jimmy noodling around with Roy Harper. But track 3, Hope, is co-written by David Gilmour. I don't think David Gilmour plays on it. I thought he did, but I looked into it a bit more, and I don't think that he does. But to have a David Gilmour co-written track, have Jimmy Page playing on this, and finally get some Roy Harper after knowing the song, hats off to Roy, or hats off to Harper, whatever it's called, from Led Zeppelin and Have a Cigar, which is sung by Roy Harper. So that Pink Floyd, that Led Zeppelin connection. I finally got some Roy Harper in my collection. And yeah, continuing on from already having picked up Tubular Bells, I wanted to get a best of collection to check out. And the first track on here, which is Tubular Bells, is a collection, or not a collection, but a combination of parts 1 and part 2 done in a 13-minute edit. And so that's also cool to get that version, but then I get to hear the rest of the stuff that made him really popular. And so cool little single disc collection there. Creedence Clearwater Revival, Pendulum. And this one, a lot of you guys pointed out and said that you really like the track on here called Pageant Baby, which is very cool. I like the song Chameleon off of here, which is cool. And then, of course, it has Have You Ever Seen the Rain, which was the big hit and the reason this album went platinum at the time. But Last album to feature all four members, 1970. It gets it away from the sort of more pop early stuff and starts to get into that sound of what the 70s would become. I kind of can only imagine what the band would have sounded like if they had continued. Maybe they would have done what the Byrds did and went a bit more country, who knows. But I do really like this album. This turned out to be great. And I picked this one up just to have a jewel case edition of it. Scorpions, Love at First Sting. I can also take it out to my car now and enjoy it. But I did find out that this mix or the mastering of it is different. It is quieter. It is not as bright and upfront as the other one. And so it's a little bit different. Nice to have that one in my collection. Back when I would get new reissues, new remasters years ago, I would get rid of the original pressings to get some money to buy those new ones. And I sort of regret that. So now I hang on to everything. And in some cases, I want to go back and pick up those original pressings, the ones that I know, the ones I grew up on, even if they're a bit muddier than the remasters that are present day. But what I'm finding is a lot of the remasters that are coming out today don't have the power and punch of the original ones. So hang on to all your copies. Don't get rid of them. That's my vote or comment to you guys. Missing Persons' second studio album, Rhyme and Reason. They got a brand new album that's coming out this Friday, so I was definitely gearing up for that. And I picked this up to get a standalone jewel case edition of Marillion's fourth studio album, Clutching at Straws, but it is a 2018 remix. Actually, they got like the original best, but it's nice to hear the subtle differences in those. That seems to be a really big thing that is going on with a lot of bands. To provide more material, they are remixing albums for deluxe editions, giving it a 21st century sound, I guess, if you will. In some cases, the Dio album, Holy Diver, that got remixed, I actually think is better than the original. But then you have ones like Pantera's Reinventing the Steel. There's nowhere near as strong and powerful as the original. So, you take it for what it is. They're fun listening experiences, sort of the what if scenarios, and I enjoy getting those. But there you go, 15 new selections, new pickups, new finds for me. As I said, hopefully that turned you on to something there, maybe reminded you of something cool in your collection, get some cool ideas out of it. But hey, let me know what is your favorite find from this past week, and drop that in the comments. We'll have a nice little chat about that. And going forward, enjoy your music, head out to record stores, get some cool stuff, and keep rocking. Bye, everyone.